For close to 40 years, Back to the Future has captured the public's imagination. And it's usually one hypothetical. If I came across a DeLorean with a flux capacitor, where would I go? What would I do? Would I go back in time? Would I go to the future? For me, especially when I watch Back to the Future 2, a second hypothetical pops into my head. What would I do with the Gray's Sports Almanac? Since I started covering sports betting and gambling at playcolorado.com, over the last year, anytime Back to the Future 2 is on, a third hypothetical has completely dominated my mind. What would Sportsbooks do to Biff Tannen? Now, I totally get it. As others have pointed out, in Back to the Future 2, Biff makes his money betting on horses. But this is a hypothetical. And it's hypotheticals that make Back to the Future such great movies, perfect movies. And I had to get to the bottom of this hypothetical. And let's not forget, in Back to the Future 2, when old Biff travels back to 1955 to give young Biff the Gray's Sports Almanac, old Biff uses a UCLA football game to show young Biff the power of the almanac. So that led me to write the fun story at playcolorado.com last week. Would Biff Tannen be able to pull a fast one on U.S. regulated sports books? I went to get answers from Johnny Avello at DraftKings and Jay Carnegie at the Superbook, and their answers did not disappoint.
I gotta admit, this is something that we have joked about over the years. Saying, could you imagine, coming across that gray book, having that in your, and you wouldn't want to go full tilt, right? You would want to kind of gradually bet some of these things so you wouldn't stick out like a sore thumb. Like, oh my gosh, Cornegay's 98. No. You would have to do something like, I'm 60 and 40, right? You wouldn't want to get 86 from every sports book, right?
Exactly.
So you would have to slowly bleed the sports books to death.
Yeah, but there would be no reason for him to do that because why would he want to work and give you that information?
Exactly.
If you had this kind of information that he had, you would not want to share that with anyone. You'd want to keep that totally to yourself. The only other person you may share that with, maybe your wife, and you know that you two are going to be together forever because you don't want her to ever tell anyone, or a best friend that you know you can rely on. That's a real, true best friend. The information like this, if you give it to anybody or anybody knew about it, it would get out. If I hired a guy like that to work for me, of course, my staff would know about it. Somebody would find out about it, and it would spread around, and that would be the end of it. I wouldn't continuously pick winners every day.
Yeah.
I'd make sure that I'm going to pick more winners than losers, that's for sure, and I'm going to make a good living at it, but I'm not going to show you my hand.
To sum up what they told me on what they would do to Biff, it would be dependent upon Biff's betting strategy. As Johnny said, if Biff is placing $100,000 bets on each game, he's going to have to make like a tree and get out of here because there's no way a sports book is going to survive with that kind of betting action. Now, as Johnny said, if Biff is placing $2,000 bets on games, he's not going to get limited. And that's how Biff can sustain his betting strategy. The other fascinating aspect to come out of me talking to Johnny and to Jay is they would treat Biff like a typical sharp bettor. Anything that they could gain from Biff's bets to benefit the sports book or to adjust their lines, they would do. And of course, since we're in the gambling space, it delved into what both of them would do if they got their hands on the sports book. You want people to think you're good, but that you don't know. It's a fun hypothetical. It's an interesting hypothetical, a new hypothetical that adds so much to the second movie. Definitely check out the story at playcolorado.com and answer to yourself what you would do with the Gray Sports Almanac. What would be your betting strategy? Knowing Biff the way we do, it's hard to imagine him having that kind of limit on himself. He's flamboyant, and he definitely wants to stick out. But the one thing I wish is we had a Gray Sports Almanac from 2000 to 2050. It's no secret I'm a huge Denver Broncos fan, and since Peyton Manning retired, the Broncos have been stuck in quarterback purgatory. And now that Aaron Rodgers is staying with the Green Bay Packers, we have yet another quarterback competition in Broncos country. How nice would it be to know for certain whether or not Aaron Rodgers was going to be the quarterback of the Denver Broncos in 2022.